chapters 38, 39, and 40. Chapter 38, the death of Arius. Such was the supplication of Alexander. Meanwhile, the emperor, being desirous of personally examining Arius, sent for him to the palace and asked him whether he would assent to the determinations of the synod at Nicaea. He without hesitation replied in the affirmative and subscribed the declaration of the faith in the emperor's presence, acting with duplicity. The emperor, surprised at his ready compliance, obliged him to confirm his signature by an oath. This also he did with equal dissimulation. The way he evaded, as I have heard, was this: he wrote his own opinion on paper and carried it under his arm, so that he then swore truly that he really held the sentiments he had written. That this is so. However, I have written from hearsay, but that he added an oath to his subscription. I have myself ascertained from an examination of the emperor's own letters. The emperor, being thus convinced, ordered that he should be received into communion by Alexander, Bishop of Constantinople. It was then Saturday, and Arius was expecting to assemble with the church on the day following, but divine retribution overtook his daring criminalities. For going out of the imperial palace, attended by a crowd of Eusebian partisans like guards, he paraded proudly through the midst of the city, attracting the notice of all the people. As he approached the place called Constantine's Forum, where the column of Porphyry is erected, a terror rising from the remorse of his conscience seized Arius, and with the terror of violent relaxation of the bowels. He therefore inquired whether there was a convenient place near, and being directed to the back of Constantine's Forum, he hastened thither. Soon after, a faintness came over him, and together with the evacuations of his bowels protruded, followed by a copious hemorrhage and the descent of the small intestines. Moreover, portions of his spleen and liver were brought off in the effusion of blood, so that he almost immediately died. The scene of this catastrophe still is shown at Constantinople, as I have said, behind the shambles in the colonnade, and by persons going by pointing the finger at the place. There is a perpetual remembrance preserved of this extraordinary kind of death. So disastrous an occurrence filled with dread and alarm the party of Eusebius, Bishop of Nicomedia, and the report of it quickly spread itself over the city and thought the whole world. As the king grew more earnest in Christianity and confessed that the confession at Nicaea tested by God, he rejoiced at the occurrences. He was also glad because of his 3 sons, whom he had already proclaimed Caesars, one of them having been created at every successive decennial anniversary of his reign. To the eldest, whom he called Constantine after his own name, he assigned the government of the western parts of the empire on the completion of his first decade. The second son, Constantius, who bore his grandfather's name, he constituted Caesar in the eastern division when the second decade had been completed. And Constans, the youngest, he invested with a similar dignity in the 13th year of his own reign. Chapter 39. The Emperor falls sick and dies. A year having passed, the Emperor Constantine, having just entered his 56th year of his age, was taken with a sickness. He therefore left Constantinople and made a voyage to Helenopolis, that he might try the effect of the medical hot springs which are found in the vicinity of that city. Perceiving, however, that his illness increased, he deferred the use of the baths, and removing from Helenopolis to Nicomedia, he took up his residence in the suburbs, and there received Christian baptism. After this he became cheerful, and making his will, appointed his 3 sons heirs to the empire, allotting to each one of them his portion in accordance with the arrangements he had made. while living. He also granted many privileges to the cities of Rome and Constantinople, and entrusting the custody of his will to that presbyter whose mean to that presbyter by whose means Arius had been recalled, and of whom we have already made mention. He charged him to deliver it into no one's hands except that of his son Constantius, to whom he had given the sovereignty of the East. After the making of his will, he survived a few days and died. Of his sons, none were present at his death. A courier was therefore immediately dispatched to the East to inform Constantius of his father's decease. Chapter 40. The funeral of Emperor Constantine. The body of the emperor was placed in a coffin of gold by the proper persons, and then conveyed to Constantinople, where it was laid out on an elevated bed of state in the palace, surrounded by a guard and treated with the same respect as when he was alive. And this was done until the arrival of one of his sons. When Constantius was come out of the eastern parts of the empire, it was honored with imperial spectre and deposed in the church called the Apostles, which he had caused to be constructed for this very purpose, that the emperors and prelates might receive a degree of veneration but little inferior to that which was paid to the relics of the apostles. The Emperor Constantine lived 65 years and reigned 31. He died in the consulate of Elcian and Trajan on the 22nd of May, in the second year of the 278th Olympiad. This book therefore embraces a period of 31 years. Well, that's the end of Socrates Scholasticus of Constantinople's Historia Ecclesiastica, or church history. And next we'll be going on to book 2.